Witamy wszystkich bardzo serdecznie. Mam wrażenie, że jest trochę źle mikrofon, także jak się trochę przedstawię. Na streamie z prezentacji Koch Media na E3 2021. To w sumie nie jest E3, to jest ich własna impreza Koch Primetime Gaming, bardziej w ramach Summer Game Fest niż właśnie rzeczonego E3. Do rozpoczęcia wydarzenia zostało 5 minut, trwa odliczanie, to co wtedy słyszycie to jest muzyka ze streama. No i tak naprawdę ja najbardziej czekam w sumie tylko może na Kingdom Come Deliverance, ale Barcio, mój brat, który siedzi tu, a właściwie Ozzy Osbourne, poczytał trochę o tym, co tam ma być i jakieś dwie podobno interesujące gry, które nie są grami multiplayer.
Dokładnie, ich imiona brzmią następująco. Pierwsza z nich, która mnie dużo bardziej interesuje, to jest Echoes of the End, tak? I to jest action adventure, takiej właśnie w stylu takiej liniowej, typu na przykład Plague Innocence, taki chyba właśnie około typu 2A. Nie jest AAA, ale zapowiada się bardzo ładnie. Zresztą jakieś takie, są już jakieś krótsze gameplaye w sieci. A drugie to nie pamiętam, bo mają jakąś taką dziwną nazwę. Coś o Riku, Jezu, The Last o Riku, jakoś tak.
W każdym razie na pewno są to gry warte uwagi. To są gry warte uwagi, to nie są gry, które widzieliśmy wczoraj na Game Festie,
nie jest to syf typu MMORPG, co-op i inne wszystkie złe ludzkości.
Tak, i dlatego na to bardzo, bardzo mocno czekamy generalnie. No
ja może niż na Square Enix. Ogólnie ten rok jest zjebany, bo w tym roku najbardziej oczekujemy chyba konferencję właśnie Square Enix, co się chyba nigdy nie zdarzyło. I zdarzyć się nie powinno właściwie.
Bo w sumie to będzie chyba najciekawsza, bo wątpię, że Microsoft coś dużego pokaże razem z Bethesdą. Znaczy jak to, Starlink od Bethesdy.
Nie, to nie będzie dobre.
Ale też no szczególnie po Falloutie 76 to wiecie. To tak.
I space, statki.
A mnie to jara. No zobaczymy, ja jestem ciekaw co to będzie za gra generalnie. Właśnie piszę na Discorda DevLive małego newsa, także jeżeli chcecie to tam wbijajcie, bo na Discordzie zawsze podajemy wszystkie rzeczy odnośnie DevLive wcześniej. Ja to właśnie teraz klikam i właśnie ten news poszedł. Także jeżeli niby jesteście na Discordzie DevLive, to znajdźcie sobie stronę w sklepie na Steamie. Jeżeli jeszcze gry nie macie, zachęcam do kupienia. Wszystkie linki są w opisie, poniżej do kupienia gry, a także do całego terminarza E3, który będziemy dzisiaj śledzić. I nie tylko dzisiaj, ale też przez następne kilka dni. I tak, jeśli chodzi o zapowiedzi najbliższe, to jutro również o 21, czyli tak jak dzisiaj, zaczynamy drugi dzień, właściwie pierwszy dzień targów, ale kolejny już dzień naszych streamów, gdzie będą konferencje m.in. Ubisoftu i chyba to będą tylko te dwie konferencje, czyli będzie Ubisoft o 21, a następnie o 23 konferencja Gearboxa, na której zapewne będzie ten Wonderland, tak? Jak to się tam nazywa?
Wonderlands.
Lens, no właśnie. Także na to już teraz zapraszamy. Tu widzę się popsuł, co ciekawe, stream Koch Media. On już wcześniej miał jakieś problemy, teraz widzę się zestrał kompletnie.
Tylko od siebie dodam, że mnie boli rączka, jestem głodny i zmęczony.
Właśnie,
tak?
bo myśmy się w ogóle dzisiaj zaczipowali.
Tak,
teraz już jesteśmy w pełni zaczipowani.
Tak,
tylko nadal te 5G, znaczy no w sumie internet... Ej, właśnie, ty kurwa, myśmy jakby... Dzisiaj internet lepiej działa, jak się zaszczepiliśmy. Ty, no chyba naprawdę coś w tym jest. Mamy moc 5G.
Wszystko
Co jest?
Połączone.
Chuj z tym, że u nas nie ma masztu w okolicy 5G. Ale...
Wszystko jest połączone.
O kurwa, ale realization poszło. No, w każdym razie na te streamy zapraszam, tak jak mówię, w opisie są też linki do terminarza i do playlisty ze wszystkimi wydarzeniami na YouTubie. No i zobaczymy, co tam jeszcze ciekawego będzie. No, w sumie najbardziej, jak mówiliśmy, czekamy na Square Enix.
Kiedy jest Square Enix pojutrze?
Square Enix już Ci mówię, kiedy jest, tylko muszę znaleźć terminarz. Nie mam go pod ręką. Jeszcze raz zachęcam do kupowania DevLive. A będziecie też mieli okazję grę niedługo sprawdzić. Może powiem, co to za news, wychodzi demo wyjdzie za tydzień i za tydzień będzie też hotfix najnowszej aktualizacji, bo po pierwsze nie działa największy event, który przygotowaliśmy, który najwięcej zmienia, bo jestem idiotą, zapomniałem go aktywować z poziomu kodu. Po drugie jest zajebisty błąd z czytywaniem wszystkich eventów, ale też będzie naprawiony i mnóstwo innych poprawek, także no. A jeśli chodzi o konferencję Square Enix, to konferencja Square Enix odbędzie się 13 czerwca, czyli w niedzielę o 21:15.
Zajebiście, doskonale. Ja jeszcze tylko chciałem powiedzieć, że jestem ciekawy, czy cokolwiek zaprezentują nam Sony podczas tego okresu E3-owego.
A ja jestem bardzo zdziwiony, że co ciekawe stream Koch Media na Twitchu jest maksymalnie w 720p. Jakby... co? Że to będzie wyglądać u nas na monitorze jak gówno. Takie srogie. No cóż, zobaczymy. Ja proponuję założyć słuchawki, bo już się kończy odliczenie. Generalnie. Dość głośna jest ta muzyka z tego streama. Ale mam nadzieję, że ten odsłuch nam w miarę będzie wyrabiać. Generalnie. Chcesz, to masz trochę bliżej siebie mikrofon, bo mnie zbiera bardzo dobrze. Ja nie wiem, czy ja mam taki po prostu donośniejszy ton głosu, czy co?
Co drzesz pizdę, ja nie.
No dobra, w każdym razie zaczynamy.
Hello there guys, my name is Opal Cadman and welcome. Today I have 3 main tasks. The first one is to introduce you to Koch Media's brand new premium gaming label. Number 2 is
To się
to
czyta
take a deep
Koch?
dive into some of the games
Bo ja
coming
powiem,
to
że
that
Koch.
label.
Okej.
And finally, number 3 is to show you what the new label will be getting up to in the streaming world. I want to welcome streamers who are co-streaming this today. Hello. Some of you guys are guys who I have looked up to and watched for many years.
Widzisz?
And
W końcu.
speaking of people who I've looked
Recognition
up to
jakieś.
for many
O to
years,
chodzi.
I am so proud to introduce Jeff Keeley, who will be helping me co-host us through
Kurwa, Jeff jest wszędzie. To jest naprawdę Summer Jam Job Fest.
His name is Jeff.
It is so great to
His
be
name
here
is
with
Jeff.
you for the first ever live stream.
Strasznie głośny jest ten stream. Mam nadzieję, wydaje mi się, że dosyć głośno, także za chwilę postaram się to ogarnąć.
Summer Game Fest kickoff event, and wow, you've got a lot of games there in that
obu
sizzle,
słuchawkach w
over
końcu
a
słyszę
dozen
doskonale.
games. So I know today
To jest
you're going
plus.
to go a little bit more in depth to talk about all these games, to talk to a lot of the developers.
Oops.
But for those of you that might have missed it yesterday or just want to see it again, let's kick things off with a look at that announcement sizzle reel for Prime Matter.
Właśnie, bo te wszystkie gry, o których ja mówiłem, one chyba właśnie od Prime Matter wychodzą. Te dwie, między innymi.
Głośność jest okej jak coś, to dobrze. Dla nas jest strasznie głośno. Niestety. To już widzieliśmy wczoraj na Summer Game Festie chyba. No właśnie, Kingdom Comic, te zapowiedzi. Dlatego się zacząłem jarać na to. Ja w ogóle tego Koch Media miałem nie oglądać, dlatego że Koch Media to jest parent company Deep Silver. Deep Silver tworzyło m.in. Saints Row'y. Na Saints Row'a nowego też bardzo czekamy, no ale niestety Deep Silver na tej konferencji nie będzie i w ogóle nie będzie nawet...
Się wypięło na nas wszystkich.
czyli-
Miało wyjść w tym roku.
Czyli smuteczek generalnie, ale no cóż. Może zrobił jakiś oddzielny event, wiesz, jakoś później, nie w okolicach E3. Zobaczymy.
Is that who you are?
My purpose makes me who I am.
To było to, o którym ja mówiłem.
No to generalnie poczekamy, bo te gry pewnie to będą prezentowane w jakiejś większej capacity generalnie.
To succeed where others would fail.
To jest to RPG, to dla Story Crew.
No Kingdom Come też oczywiście. Echoes of the End, to też to fajne, tak? Okej.
Yes, guys, you just saw 12 games and counting. And that's just the start for Prime Matter. But before we get into these incredible games, what I like to call the juicy bits, I want to talk to you about what Prime Matter is and who we are. Prime Matter is the new premium gaming label of Koch Media. It dedicates itself to delivering a range of immersive and diverse games from amazing development talent all around the globe. It highlights the varied influences of global studios and their different approaches to game making. The new
Coś pani ma słabego promptera, bo strasznie jej wzrok odbiega na prawo.
Gdyby nie okulary, to ja robię tego nie tak samo, dlatego zawsze je noszę. Mi też zawsze oczy latają we wszystkie strony, bo mnie rozprasza wszystko. Więc ja
The
rozumiem.
team behind Prime Matter is a melting pot of incredible talent, led by seasoned industry veterans and complemented by a young, fresh, dynamic team of multicultural gaming experts. The team behind are gamers at heart, working with such a wide range of passionate developers producing games together by gamers for gamers.
No jestem ciekaw, czy w tym switchie tych gier będzie większość gier, tak jak wczoraj, większość multiplayer online i tak dalej, czy jednak będą
Właśnie,
to
wydaje
single
mi się, że
playery?
to drugie, wiesz? Tak,
To będzie
tak
fajne.
wstępnie wydaje mi się, że to drugie na całe szczęście, w końcu.
That is a game that comes from the Embracer family itself.
Zobaczymy dzisiaj 12 gier
Jeff
też.
got to sit down with Todd Hollinshead and talk all about Painkiller.
All right, you saw the news yesterday. Yes, there is a new Painkiller coming, and Todd is joining me now to maybe give us a few more details. I know this is kind of a fresh project for the team at Saber, and you guys, first of all, I love that.
Wydaje mi się, że to wczoraj było pokazane i to jest jakiś co-op multiplayer gówno.
Build out Saber. And Painkiller was a franchise. You and I are both OG. We remember was it probably 15 years ago at this point?
Yeah, it's been a while, closer to two decades than one.
My God. All right. Well, but it's one of those classic games. Let me ask you from a Prime Matter perspective, you've been in the industry like me all those years, and we remember that game. Why was this a franchise that you guys wanted to sort of bring back?
Well, Painkiller, when I played it back in the early 2000s, this is a game that had, it was dark, a little twisted, intense, cool guns. These are the things that, kind of hit the nail on the head of what appeals to me in a video game, both as, as a fan and then also as a publisher at Saber. So, we're hoping to capture those same sort of elements and bring those into the new game.
Yeah, you guys are certainly masters of doing shooters from all your time at id, and Painkiller does have a lot of that DNA of fast-paced action with a little bit of a twist to it, and the fact you guys are working with Prime Matter is also exciting. Brand new publisher, brand new label. What do you think of the fact that they're doing this label, and it's such a diverse lineup of companies and partners around it? I know you guys work with a lot of publishers, but it's pretty exciting to see a new label announced. That doesn't happen every day.
No, it doesn't. And, I think that within the Embracer Group, it's just a business that is growing. We've got great leadership at the top. And so Koch Media is, wanting to expand their publishing. And I think that, the name they chose, Prime Matter, sort of is, it's sort of like the primordial soup of putting together stuff from nothing. So,
Yeah.
it kind of makes me think of this is what we do when we make video games. You start with Pixel Zero, and then at the end of the day, you make a game. So I feel like that, that kind of resonates with hopefully the type of experiences that we're going to be providing, not just within Prime Matter and working with them between Saber and our partnership, but, across the Embracer Group as well.
Yeah, no, it sounds like they have a lot of games in development, but the fact that you are bringing back Painkiller is really exciting. And I know, fans, of course, want to know a little bit about, what's the game going to look, how's it going to play. Probably can't share a lot of details about it, but you're kind of in the early stages of development now on this?
Yeah, super early. And, if anything that I would share, I'd probably get assassinated for back home once I get back to the developer, because, all these, the first stuff that comes out almost always gets sort of iterated on and changed. And so we're trying to keep the lid on the details until we have something that's going to be really awesome to show.
All right, well, we'll be waiting for it, and we know what...
Trochę słabo
A ja
zaczęli.
wciąż nie wiem, o chuj chodzi.
No
co to
właśnie,
jest
znaczy
za gra,
nie mają czego pokazać, tak? Czyli to jest
Ale
bardzo dziwne, że zaczynają konferencję czymś, czego nie mogą pokazać, tylko mogą pogadać.
Ale że strzelanka, okej,
No
ale
tak, strzelanka
poza tym
jakaś.
to-
No strzelam, że pewnie online multiplayer co-op gówno.
I really can't wait to hear more about Painkiller and the fact that Todd and Tim and the team at Saber are working on it. I think we're going to get something pretty special when they are ready to share more. So, exciting stuff in that sizzle reel, Painkiller, Payday, but I know there's a lot more we're here to talk about today as well, right, Opal?
Actually, Prime Matter has 12 games under development right at this minute. We're so excited to show
Bo tu
you
jakieś
guys
takiej
what awesome
muzyczki w tle
developers
brakuje,
have
jakoś tak
No,
śpiąco
tak
trochę tutaj.
sucho strasznie.
Tak sucho, tak
Widać, że
kameralnie.
Koch Media raczej nie robił wcześniej imprez i chyba się nie postarali.
No właśnie, jakoś tak... I to
And some
HD.
of it is about
Tak,
to
i to
come
HD,
right
no
around
to
the
też.
corner.
No boli
So,
trochę.
please keep that in mind when you're viewing today's show. That being said, how do you guys feel about a psychedelic third-person survival horror game? Set
No
on
szkoda,
Moje
że horror.
ulubione.
to go on a
Szkoda, że
journey
horror.
of
Szkoda, że survival horror.
and what happens
Survival, okej,
when
horror,
it all
nie.
goes wrong. I got to speak with the developers of The Chant work in progress title about their game and who they are.
Nazwani
Our
Greg
game
Camp.
is about a group of
Nice.
people who go to a spiritual retreat to seek enlightenment, and they basically get a little more than they bargained for. And your character has to deal with her own personal issues as well as the cosmic terrors that become awakened.
Cool. So, what type of genre is this game?
And it's a bit hard to pin down with the with all the different influences and styles of gameplay, but I'd say we're probably a survival action horror game.
Okay.
Drogo się zaczyna bać, że to będą same wywiady.
No właśnie i to takie kurwa, takie puste tylko słowa, bez pokazywania gameplayu, bez pokazywania nawet trailera, tylko gadanie o
Nie umrzemy
pomysłach.
za 5 minut, jak tak będzie.
Personally, we always wanted to make a horror game. A big part of our core team have a background in third
Też
person.
mam nadzieję, że nie będzie tylko tych 12 gier pokazanych wcześniej. Bo jeżeli tu nie będzie kurwa Kingdom Come Deliverance, to się wkurwie. Bo po pierwsze stracimy czas, po drugie stracimy pakiet internetu, po trzecie będziemy pizdu znudzeni i zawiedzeni.
Myślę, że możemy założyć spokojnie, że jak następne 3 gry będą w tej formie, to nie musimy oglądać całego.
No ja już zacząłem, to ja już obejrzę do końca.
Nie wiem.
Normally what you would see, this whole spiritual awakening thing. So what was the idea behind that?
We thought it was just kind of an interesting territory to explore. There is, there's a lot of influence from that with like folk horror of the 70s and giallo horror and so forth that really inspired us more from a film standpoint. And taking that kind of aesthetic, something that was very sensational, very colorful, and mixing it in with kind of more action-oriented and exploratory game mechanics, we felt was a fresh take on the horror space.
So kind of speaking about your inspirations and stuff, what video games, real life media has inspired you to create this title?
Well, going way back when Resident Evil 2 is one of my favorite games of all time. Alone in the Dark, Eternal Darkness. So a lot of games are very inspirational to us. Our game actually started off as a game with fixed camera angles and so forth, and then we over the course of development, just especially really focusing on bringing more of an action element to it. We've since switched to an over-the-shoulder camera and haven't looked back.
So kind of talking about changes and what you guys are doing on the development side, how close is the game to like the original concept? I understand you guys are still developing the game's quite far out, but from your original concept to where the game is now, how much has that differed?
The core story and I'd say the aesthetic and the themes, those are all...
Właśnie zobaczyłem tweeta, że przez przypadek ktoś opublikował trailer remastera Life is Strange i Before the Storm. Oczywiście jest on już ściągnięty, ale pewnie gdzieś w necie da się go znaleźć. No zobaczymy to. Nie, zobaczymy co na Square Enix, nie ma co wcześniej, po co tam. 2 godziny, 2 dni nas nie zbawią.
And a lot of those things are just kind of based on, we're a very small team at first. We're still a relatively small team, but every new person that joins, brings...
Mam wielki problem, oni tu nie mówią o grach, tylko o tym wokół gier, o tym jak się pracuje, o firmie i tak dalej, no sorry, ale
A przede wszystkim, że nic nie pokazują, w sensie...
Przede wszystkim, no.
Ja rozumiem, można o tym pogadać, ale kiedy wleci gameplay, a nie...
To naprawdę wymaga dużo od widza, żeby to on zapamiętywał, że o, może warto się tym zainteresować, nie? Masz mi to sprzedać, pani kochany, a nie...
On a smaller scale and budget. So for us, we had to be very strategic. Utilizing Unreal, we wouldn't been able to build this game without utilizing an engine like Unreal. Previously, we had worked on more proprietary technology. And that's also great because, new people that join the team can get up and running on the engine quite quickly. In addition to that, we've been using photogrammetry from the start.
To ta gra będzie na pewno ładnie wyglądać, skoro stoi na Unrealu i skoro używa tej, Boże, jak to się nazywa? Przed powiedział to słowo.
Geometry?
Nie, geometry, Boże. No wiecie, to, że się mapuje rzeczywisty świat po prostu. Telegrametria? Chyba tak.
So you've mentioned like experience in the past and also kind of how rich Vancouver is. How much does that come in handy when you're working on the game?
Oh, it's been extremely beneficial. Vancouver, is home to a lot of AAA studios. A large portion of us
Ale się
work together
tęsknię za
at
Sony, ja
Rockstar and United
pierdolę.
Front
No.
Games, and we
Chociaż
also
tak ci
have
powiem,
people
ostatnia
who have,
konferencja Sony na
worked
E3.
at Coalition,
To była ta,
and
gdzie
EA,
grali na flecie?
Tak.
as well as
No to była idealna
No
konferencja.
nie, ona była nudna, bo tam było tyle czekania między, wiesz, filów.
Znaczy, mieli tam problemy techniczne, ale grali na flecie, było super.
Utilize, local talent. We're working with union actors. We're scanning actors as well that we're using for our characters, and we're actually currently auditioning a couple remaining characters for the game, and as well as doing the finishing touches on our new motion capture studio. So we're going to be.
Jezu, to ta gra jest naprawdę we wczesnym stanie, skoro jeszcze mock-up nie jest zrobiony, nie jest jeszcze casting skończony, a oni już o tym gadają, jakby co?
Właśnie o to mi chodzi, nie? Po cholerę się odzywasz, jak nie
Właśnie.
masz nic do pokazania, nie zacząłeś developmentu na dobre. Po co jest ta konferencja, jakby?
I think the thing I'm the most proud of
To
is
było jakieś, nie wiem,
just what
na
a
IGN by sobie
small,
tam leciało
focused
z
team
jednego,
can
wiesz, z
do when
jednego
they're all,
streama, a
sharing
nie
the
wielka
same
część
goal
Summer
and
Game,
vision.
jest wielka część
As I
E3.
said
Tak,
earlier,
gdzie
we,
to zapowiadają znowu z
Tak.
takim hypem, że normalnie...
different
Nie robi się
backgrounds,
tak.
but
Ten
everyone
stream,
comes
ten
together
stream, on już ze 2 dni leciał.
really,
Jezu,
deliver,
co?
an
Ten stream
amazing
już ze
amount
2
of
dni
work
leciał.
A oni jeszcze o
for the
jednej grze
teams that we
gadają.
have. And,
Tak i tak
it's
o
just-
niczym,
it's
tak
really
wałkują,
exciting to
jakby...
be working on a
Zostało
smaller
powiedziane
team again.
1000 słów, ja nic nie wiem nadal.
Just having that kind of energy where you're working with everyone on the team day to day.
Yeah.
Zupełnie inaczej, jakby to była gra, która by już miała 3 trailery i 1 gameplay, nie? To wtedy okej, ale kurwa, nie o tak.
No nie? No bo jedyne wyobrażenie, survival horror action game, która będzie ładnie wyglądać, bo stoi na
Resident Evil
Unrealu.
remake, nie wiem, moje
And
skojarzenie.
also, being featured on their brand new label.
It's truly an exciting place
Oby
to
na
be.
Square Enix nie było tak dużo syfy, jak zwykle jest.
Oby tu już zaraz nie było tyle syfu, minął
Oby, o
15
to przede
minut.
wszystkim,
This
tak.
partnership is really helping
Jeżeli to się
to,
nie zamknie w godzinie, to się
provide
trochę
more
zdenerwuję.
reach,
Nie, ja wychodzę, jak tak będzie
and,
dalej, no.
more resources, but I think most importantly also just having a partnership on getting feedback and helping to really expand and push the vision of the game. We've already received a lot of feedback on the title, and being a small team, we're often in our own little echo chamber, and even in a short period of time, we've been able to act on a lot of the feedback, and the game has improved considerably since then.
Well, Mike, thank you so much for your time. It's been awesome to talk to you and find
O,
out
Kingdom Come Deliverance coming up next!
Ale jeden, nie wiemy, czy to
and I can't
sequel,
wait
czy
to
to
let
coś.
gamers finally get their hands on the content. So thank
Dobra,
you
mam nadzieję, że
for
teraz
your
się
time.
zacznie. Poważne rzeczy.
Psychedelic horrors to internet rumors, our next developer created the huge open world of Bohemia and took us on an adventure through the Holy Roman Empire. However, there have been some leaks that this action RPG may have a home on the Switch. Opal sat down with Warhorse Studios to try and get to the bottom of this.
Kurwa, nie, wersja na Switcha?
Switch. That is quite some news.
Yes,
We've
that's
been
true.
deceived.
Kingdom Come Deliverance is coming to the Nintendo Switch. And as
O
you
ja
said,
pierdolę.
Żeby to Echoes of the Mist
game,
było szybko,
in
proszę.
our case,
I
or
ja
in this
wychodzę,
case,
pierdolę
actually
to.
gamers play an
Nie mam
integral
czasu.
part in the story.
What do you mean?
Well, some kind of confusion happened in the end of last year. We Warhorse Studios were preparing the release of the Kingdom Come Deliverance Royal Edition on PlayStation and Xbox, but someone most likely ticked the wrong box in Japan, and it looked like it's going to be released on Switch as well. Of course, by that time there was nothing existing like that. We were not even thinking about the possibility that Kingdom Come Deliverance could go on the Switch.
Jak ta gra kurwa zamierza działać? No w sumie Wiedźmina zrobili na Switcha.
No właśnie.
Dobrze, dobra, w sumie przestałem się zastanawiać, jak to będzie działać i wyglądać.
No właśnie.
The talk of the day, Kingdom Come Deliverance is releasing on the Switch, but as I said, nothing like that was planned at all, and we didn't even think about that.
Jeszcze port zrobiony na szybko w rok.
A few months back, and we think it was still somehow cursing around in the Nintendo database. Nintendo of Spain posted a picture on Twitter where they had different pictures of open world games, and they were promoting already existing open world games on the Nintendo store. And if you clicked on the picture, actually there was nothing like Kingdom Come Deliverance, of course not, because as I said, nothing like that is existing. However, again, it created confusion. People were talking about it again, like, okay, so is it coming, is it not coming? But for us, actually, and as I said, we didn't think about that until that time. For us, we started to think there's a lot of interest, there's a lot of buzz, people are actually talking about us, reaching out to us, like they seem to want Kingdom Come Deliverance on the Nintendo Switch. So we started to think, and since
Ja się zastanawiam, bo ta gra jest w pisu trudna do grania. Jak w to grać na Switchu, na małym ekranie? Wow, nie wyobrażam sobie tego.
Capable of bringing the Kingdom Come Deliverance version on the Switch. So we sat together.
Resident Sleeper, za co? Tak się nie robi konferencji.
So what you're saying is that a community of gamers
Tak trudno byłoby tutaj dać w tle ten gameplay ze
Właśnie,
cokolwiek, jakiś trailer minimalny, whatever.
This comes from our
Muzykę,
general
ja to
background.
usnę za pół
think of the
sekundy,
Kickstarter
nie, ja wyjdę
project we
naprawdę.
had
No ja może nie usnę, bo ja lubię takie rzeczy posłuchać o grach i
Ale-
ja takie rzeczy
ale
często
o
oglądam.
O czym wiem cokolwiek, a nie
always
takie
try to be
kurwa.
very
No wiesz, o
careful
Kingdom Come masz dużo
Ja
materiałów.
nie
Możesz sobie
interesuje
wyobrazić,
mnie
jak sobie odpalisz to na
Jakby-
najniższych ustawieniach graficznych, masz mniej więcej Switcha.
Chcę posłuchać
Our
tylko
own
o
liquor,
Echoes of
we
the Misty
created
chyba
later,
wychodzę z tym.
was actually a community idea. We have our own beer brand. We recently released a blue brick set.
Wiesz co, ja sobie z chęcią zobaczę, jak wygląda
Kingdom Come Deliverance
na
buildings.
Twitchu.
And now one of the
O,
latest
pięknie,
projects is
dokładnie.
the Kingdom Come Deliverance soap bar, which should give you the real medieval smell.
Nie oglądamy konferencji IGN-u,
In that
bo
case, I must
wątpię, że na
say,
IGN nie
it
będzie
actually
cokolwiek
medieval
fajnego.
smells actually pretty
A jeżeli
well.
będzie, to obejrzymy później.
And,
Bo
we are
ja
coming
niestety
up
nie
with
mam...
crazy stuff like
A się
that,
nie weźcie tam,
all the
IGN?
time.
Nie,
Our
bo
next
IGN nigdy
new
nie daje
merchandise product
dokładnego
is
schedule'a, bo to wychodzi gdzieś
project
tam
is a
na, wiesz, na
Farkle
żywo, nie?
box
Zależy kogo tam
or-
ogarną.
Jak coś się stanie, to się raczej dowiemy.
Tak, i wtedy obejrzymy to po prostu
Tak.
przed innymi
Kingdom Come
streamami.
Deliverance minigame, a dice minigame you can play in the game, and now with Griffon Studios we are coming up with a boxed version you can get and play Farkle
Ten czat
at home
ciekawszy
against
jest.
against your friends or against your family or whatever.
Widać na streamie
So,
czat?
that's pretty
Tak.
cool if you ask me.
Ale
But
piękny
generally,
spam,
if you're
weź też
interested in
pospam.
these kind of stuff,
Nie,
just
nie
check
lubię.
the Warhorse Studios
Video
social
games?
media
Video
accounts.
games?
You get all the information you need there.
Ooh, my favorite. Soapy hot news. Speaking of soapy hot news, how do you feel about Warhorse being under the new label Prime Matter?
It's a huge honor, of course. We were working together with Koch for over 4 years already. In 2019, we then even became part of the entire Embracer family. So that was a big thing. And now being able to take part at the beginning of something new, be there when there's a new label being created, that is a big thing for us. And especially if you consider that we come there as an established partner already, that is really cool. And we are looking forward to a bright future.
Thank you very much, Toby. We cannot see what Warhorse has got cooking. However, until that time, Toby, goodbye!
So are we. Thank you very much and see you.
From internet rumors back to reality, we will have more on Kingdom Come Deliverance for Switch as we get it.
All right, let's move from RPGs to FPS games. Final Form, which is a working title, is an action-packed sci-fi adventure where you play the role of a humanoid avatar of a sentient spaceship sent on a mission to the edge of the known universe to battle an unstoppable plague. The game is still a long ways from completion, but here's a very quick peek.
Chuj.
What's in store?
Czekaj. O!
Trailer!
Trailer, mamy
Trailer! Wow!
to! O, wizualny ten!
O! wygląda wcale głupio.
Nie wygląda tak wcale źle,
Jeżeli to będzie single
Ty,
player.
taki a la Doom, taki ten. Przynajmniej coś.
Final Form. Tylko to jest nadal Codename. Czyli ta gra też jest daleko od release'u, ale przynajmniej coś pokazali.
Przynajmniej coś, kurwa, no, już mają moje zainteresowanie teraz, to mogę posłuchać o czymkolwiek.
Hi, we are Raycon Games, and what you have just seen is the first glimpse.
I to
Toć
polska
Polak.
gra.
Toć to Polak.
Nie słyszałem o niej.
It's an action-packed, epic sci-fi
Ale polska gra, no i kurwa.
female-formed humanoid machine on a space mission with no return.
At the heart of the game is a mystery and alien worlds to explore, but also an adrenaline-fueled combat. In Final Form, it's all about the freedom and power of movement, being a machine unrestrained by human weaknesses. There are numerous abilities and gadgets that come with your robotic body, so you can give yourself away to the fantasy of becoming an unstoppable cybernetic goddess blazing away in a spectacular ballet of destruction.
Ej, podoba mi się to.
No fajnie wygląda, bardzo fajnie.
Brzmi też dobrze.
I to Polacy robią.
I to Polacy robią.
With additional team members located all over the world, the studio was founded and is managed entirely by game developers. Since the success of Ruiner, we've grown quite substantially. Currently, Raycon is over 50 brilliant game creators. And counting. We are not a huge team, but what we love to do is to evolve together with our projects, constantly finding smarter and better ways to achieve something truly unique. We build our work environment just like we make games, aiming for the best results and personal fulfillment. We strongly believe that the well-being of team members needs to be taken care of first, before we can pour all of that love into a game.
Ten projekt You What?
With Koch Media has been very fruitful and
Kurwa, ja już słyszałem co najmniej 3 różne wymowy. Koch Media, Coach Media, Koch Media.
we're looking forward to share more on Final Form in the future. And in the meantime, please enjoy the rest of the show.
No i o to chodzi. Mniejsze gry, które są ciekawe, jakiś gameplay, jakaś pogadanka. Czy to takie kurwa trudne?
Widzisz, Polacy umieją.
Właśnie miałem mówić, jak Polak potrafi, jak chce.
Polak
widzisz?
potrafi, jak chce to
Jak
potrafi.
chce to potrafi.
Tak.
I have to say, guys, I love the soundtrack from Final Form. Moving on to our next game, which is just as special. What if you took Lovecraftian and Gagaris themes and mixed it all together with hardcore RPG elements? That's exactly what Massive Works Studios are doing. I got to sit down with their CTO to talk about their game, Dolmen.
No i tu przynajmniej też chyba
Wow.
dostaniemy jakiś trailer.
Niesamowite.
I coś ma być podobno w klimatach Lovecraftowych. I zaraz będą jakieś pewnie macki. A jak? Nie żeby coś, ale ten pasek na dole wygląda okropnie. No tak nie bardzo mi się podoba.
Let's speak now to Gabriel Ferreira, CTO of Massive Works Studios, who joins us now from Campinas near São Paulo in the southeast of Brazil. So, Gabriel, what is Dolmen about?
First of all, it's a pleasure to be here and to participate. Well, so let me tell a little bit about what Dolmen is. Dolmen is that kind of a game where the hero needs to save everyone from an alien threat. Fighting with all kinds of monsters and struggling to keep going forward. Yeah, that's the kind of game that Dolmen is not about. In this game, you actually save the drillers, which is the alien species that live on that planet, but you're going there to help a company save its investment. So you're not really the nice guy that's trying to save everyone. It's just a job. But we hope that the players consider the humanity, the greed, the war, and the spares and the challenges that come to mind along with that job. Taking all that part, and yes, Domain is also about fighting all kinds of monsters and struggling. After all, it is a hard game. It's a hardcore game. It's inspired on Souls-like, so yes, you're going to die a lot.
Awesome. Thank you. So when thinking about the name Dolmen, obviously you guys went for that for like a very specific reason. What's the thinking behind the name? Why did you go for Dolmen?
So there was many things that came to our mind when describing the name of the game. Dolmen, which means a single chamber tomb, a megalithic tomb. We thought it would be a good word to describe this stone, this crystal that we have that is related to that. In many ways, everyone that deals with this crystal in the game is close to bringing problems to everyone that is around. And we wanted this to be the main piece of the game.
Cool. Awesome. And now I know that people may or may not have heard of Dolmen before, so it is already out there in the world. But how long has it taken to get to this point?
Oh, it's been a long
Czyżby to był jakiś early access na Steamie? Bo jest na pewno QR-ek tam z tyłu. Czyli zakładam, że to jest early access.
So, it's been almost
Czekaj, Massive Work Studio to nie jest takie fajne studio, w którym ja wiem te rzeczy?
Nie wiem.
Massive chyba coś fajnego wydał w przyszłości, wydaje mi się. Ja znam to chwilę.
Nie kojarzę. Chyba. Albo jestem upośledzony.
Since the beginning, either our community, the Kickstarters, and you guys, I believe would not be here right now.
Lovely. How have you been inspired by other games? You mentioned like the Souls-like obviously inspires it. You know, are there other games that inspire you? And also, what games do the teams like?
First of all, regarding inspirations, a lot of games came to us when we were producing the game and when we were first thinking of it. Obviously, we are really passionate and we really love Souls-like games. So Bloodborne, Dark Souls, those games were our main inspirations. But we drew inspirations from all different kind of sources. So we had inspirations in Dead Space, in Mass Effect, and also not only inspirations in other games, but also inspirations in movies and Lovecraftian stories. For example, Alien and Geiger, and those were our main inspirations. About games that we most like and games that our team likes, it's really hard to say because we have a team that ranges from liking Dota to CS and Souls-like games. But what I can really tell you is that everyone of our team is passionate about the project because they love doing what they do, which is a hardcore game.
Yeah, and that makes sense as well when you get hands on Dolmen, all these inspirations that have come in. So the game is set in a sci-fi universe. Is there any specific reason you decided to go down that route? Was there any other routes that you considered at first?
Yeah. Well, the humans are afraid of what they don't know. And the universe has infinite possibilities. There is always something unknown that we can explore in space. So that sci-fi setting really was something that we could use to throw everything that our insane minds could come with.
Mam nadzieję, że to nie potrwa jeszcze jakoś bardzo długo, ale biorąc pod uwagę, jak oni dużo poświęcają czasu dla jednej gry, to jest same gadanie. Ile mieliśmy gier ze sobą? To jest piąta?
No, absolutely.
Nie, więcej.
Nie, więc to jest chyba piąta gra. Miało być 12. Jesteśmy ponad połowie, teoretycznie. Wydaje mi się, że to się powinno skończyć przed 22, skoro się zaczyna IGN Expo, raczej by się nie, wiecie, nie stykały końcówkami.
Yeah, there were a lot of challenges
dwa
that
wydarzenia.
we faced along this 5-year journey. We obviously had to adapt our workflow in these late years. So 2020 and 2021 was a really challenge for us. But it was something that we could adapt well, especially because even that we're based in Brazil, we're not only based in a single location in Brazil. We have people spread across the country. So it was easy enough to overcome that challenge. But there were several challenges since getting development kits and finding people that are really capable of helping us to deliver this amazing game. And that's what we gathered, and that's something that our company appreciates the most and really gives value is the people that we work with. They were really incredible people, and they were really rare over here.
Absolutely, that's really cool. Kind of on that theme of development and challenges.
No kurwa, ile można...
Given how development and technology often
Wow.
dictates how a game evolves throughout its
Dało być
development.
takie 1 do
How kind of
25
close
albo
are you to
1.
the original
No,
concept that
zdarzyło.
you guys came up for Dolmen?
I to w ogóle gadają tyle o grze, która już jest dostępna na Steamie, jest w serii jak się... I to nie jest event dedykowany tej grze, nie jest to kurwa wywiad w jakimś IGN-ie, GameStopie.
Jest to pain, mówiąc. Jest to ból.
Zobaczmy sobie na czat. Czat dalej leci Video Games? Nie. Teraz leci coś po rusku.
Wargame.
Wargame. And one of them, when we first started the game was is
No ten Koch nie umie w prezentacji.
a lot of background on it.
A jeszcze to, że kurwa tak przeruchali wszystkich w dupę. Miał być Kingdom Come, tak? Aha, chcecie Kingdom Come? A tyle! O, nie ma! Dostajecie na Switcha.
No, przecież
The universe that we're creating, they will have a lot of
Chciałem zobaczyć właśnie, czy coś jest zapowiedziane, nic nie jest zapowiedziane, dlatego mówię, nie chcę oglądać IGN, bo tam nie wiadomo co będzie, nie wiadomo kiedy. Także to jak już to po prostu fajne rzeczy ewentualnie, jeżeli będzie gdzieś to spisane, ja sobie może przeklikam tego streama i tak. W ogóle miałem sprawdzać tego streama Netflixa, ale zapomniałem to zrobić. Także nie wiem co tam było. Może zobaczymy sobie potem.
Achieve our goal, but we're never happy with
Ej, no o tej grze już 10 minut gadają.
Przejebane.
I zaraz jest papieżowa.
This is also a game and we are having fun, but on top of all, we want to make a brilliant game for the player.
Absolutely. And speaking about like making the game and the development of the game, seeing as you are lead programmer as well, what was the hardest part of making the actual game?
Uważaj, tutaj było łokieć.
We could have gone into different options, especially, for example, we could have wanted to make it a game that was simpler or smaller or not have that many hours of gameplay. But we decided to go to a hardcore game, even that's a first game of our company. So we decided to go full in into that challenge. We faced
Tobie się pewnie kojarzy Massive, bo to jest Massive Work Studio, tak? Tobie się to pewnie kojarzy z Massive Entertainment, dokładnie. Bo właśnie powiedzieli, że to jest ich pierwsza gra, no. I mnie wtedy też olśniło.
On what we were doing and, you know, keeping yourself focused for 5 years on a single game is something that is challenging for everyone, especially right now. So it was a difficult decision, but we wanted to make that. Regarding programming and as a programmer, there's a lot of that I could keep talking and talking about. What is the harder? Multiplayer is always challenging, but finding that balancing fit so the game that is not unfair, but is hard. So we wanted to aim hardcore players. So this was really something that was hard.
So you mentioned like 5 years of development, which is a crazy long time. How have you kept
Crazy long time to jest gadanie o tej grze przez jebane 10 minut.
I won't say it was easy,
Boże.
because it wasn't. But,
Ja mam nadzieję, wiecie co, jednak kurwa...
Chyba lepiej dobierać konferencję.
Tak, i chyba, ja mam nadzieję, że E3 chociaż utrzyma poziom, bo to co się dzieje poza E3 jest tak chujowe, że to się w pale nie mieści.
Making a meeting and showcasing what we are doing and working alongside each one of us. Also, a lot of things that happened before COVID was the events.
I tu nic nie mówią właściwie o samej grze, tylko o wszystkim kurwa wokół. I don't care.
Players to play the game and see how they react. It was something incredible for us.
Niech mi ktoś pomoże.
Really made us feel proud of what we were doing.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like everyone's missing that event feeling, right? When you actually get to see people on the games and you're like, oh wow, everyone's loving our games. I think it's something that everyone is missing, definitely. Speaking of...
Jeżeli kolejne gry dostaną tylko trailery i nic więcej, to pierwsze, nie wiem kto to kurwa wymyślił, po drugie będę kurde trochę relieved, bo...
Amazing. It has a lot of background from it.
To brzmi jakby to był stream zdedykowany stricte tej grze. Że oni to zapowiadali, no pogadamy sobie o grze, która się nazywa Dolmen, chcecie wbijajcie.
Jeszcze ten kadr i ta jakość mikrofonu od samego kurwa początku. Za chwilę mi odpierdoli szajba i sobie z tym wyjdę.
This game that we made and achieving what we did is what makes us feel proud. And now that we have partnered with you, getting to expand that universe and getting to get closer to our original concept. And
ja nie wiem co im w ogóle to daje. Oni nie pokazali tej gry chyba w ogóle, nie?
Na początku było trochę.
Ale zero gameplayu, niczego, mimo że ta gra wyszła. Właśnie, jaki jest kurwa benefit robienia tej konferencji, skoro gry nie pokazujecie?
That's really a amazing feeling for us. Koch really helped us and takes care of the operation that we couldn't make it for ourselves. They have an amazing team of QA, localization, so we can reach different countries.
Najlepsze ja kiedyś, w tamtym roku na tym Gamescomie. Na Gamescomie gadałem tam z jakimś przedstawicielem Koch Media. Nie pamiętam tam tak, tego pogadałem generalnie, ale raczej bym potem z nimi nie współpracował, bo to jaki to jest marketing, to
is a great opportunity for us and also to know other game developers and expand the game community and and to meet you as well. We really thank you for this opportunity.
Absolutely. We are so happy to have you guys on board. And more importantly, I am so excited to actually let people play this game at some point under this new label. So thank you so much for your time, Gabrielle. It's been awesome talking to you. And yeah, let's release Dolmen at some point under the new label. Thank you for your time and see you later.
Thank you. See you.
Now, the first title from Prime Matter will be the beautiful, highly anticipated King.
Wow, czyżby gra, która jest chociaż kurwa trochę gotowa?
And then Opal got a chance to sit down and talk with CEO Nikolai Baryshnikov.
Wow, przynajmniej gameplay dalej dostaniemy, który pewnie potrwa z minutę, a później będą pierdolić przez 15.
Our land, Nostria, dances on the knife's edge of fate. King Claudius, my father, cannot lead, and his absence has set the realm in motion. Something is coming. Now the burden of the crown falls onto me. Nostria was flourishing, but there is unrest.
It used to be beautiful here.
My wife and I had a nice life then. Conspiracy, sabotage, necromancy. They all threaten this land asunder. But we must unite, for distorted terrors are advancing. Rumors tell of a false prophet, putting our hope in something that does not exist.
To mi bardzo zalatuje jedną grą, której tytułu teraz kurde nie mogę sobie przypomnieć. Jakoś spell coś. Kurczę, nie przypomnę sobie.
Do so to me. We must look towards the horizon. Fight back the darkness. And preserve the light of our land. For Nostria!
Wyciszyłem jakimś cudem mikrofon. Nie wyglądało to źle. To Spellforce było? Chyba Spellforce, ale nie jestem pewien. Tak klimatem i światem. Bo grał to gameplayem to raczej nie.
And has a 30-year pedigree. So what is it that makes King's Bounty 2 so special?
The original King's Bounty was a grandfather of games of series like Heroes of Might and Magic. So it created this turn-based gameplay when we have a hex-based battlefield and the troops are moving in turns. Like chess pieces on the board.
Czy to jest taka gra właśnie na tych?
The cornerstone of King's Bounty.
Absolutely, and kind of speaking about that, and I know as you mentioned, the first King's Bounties was 1990, and then you had the King's Bounty that you guys created in the 2000s. What technical improvements now that we're in 2021 are you most excited about implementing into the new King's Bounty 2?
Well, I'm a huge fan of the core aspect of the game with tactical battles. And if in the previous games the battlefield was always a flat surface, so now we're bringing the battlefield into 3D. So we will have, line of sight.
Okej, czyli to będzie gra turowa. Strategiczna bardziej. Jak Heroes of Might and Magic.
Allocated on the hill, they will do extra damage for the high ground, etc. So moving the battlefield to 3D is a huge step forward. And then the whole role-playing part, the exploration part, we decided to move more towards
ale sobie ramen wpierdolę po tym wszystkim. Ale będę szczęśliwy.
Big role-playing games, as opposed to have a top-down isometric view with tiny little character on the horse just galloping around the map. So we are moving towards this kind of epic fantasy adventure. Because this is not like a small indie title anymore. This is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, production we've done in Moscow so far.
So speaking of the other King's Bounty games, will this King's Bounty 2 follow the other stories of the games, or will it be a standalone title?
No, the game will not follow on any previous games. But even the previous King's Bounty, they all sort of disconnected. There was the main protagonist, there are a bunch of evil guys. There's a small quest. And I would say that a previous King's Bounty, it was not an epic RPG adventure. So the game was more about just battling random monsters on the map and solving some little quests. And then King's Bounty 2 is really, a epic adventure. We had spent dozens of hours solving puzzles, working with different factions, making decisions that change the character and the world. So we're really moving much more towards, an epic RPG. However, this is a rare combination where our game, King's Bounty, is not an action RPG. It's not a Witcher game where you have to, quickly press buttons on the joysticks and battle enemies in the field. It's interesting crossbreed of a high fantasy role-playing game with a tactical strategy title, which, I wouldn't, it's not quote unquote was never done on console, but this is fairly unique combination for the console. And for me, a great inspiration was a modern remake of XCOM, for example, because I was a huge fan of XCOM that was released in 1994. And the modern console reinventing of XCOM. This is something we're trying to achieve.
Ta gra też by mi się mogła spodobać, gdyby pokazali, kurwa, actual gameplay.
That works well with current understanding of gamers, how a game should look like. So we're trying to enhance it in every possible direction.
Yeah, cool, awesome. Kind of speaking about the story of King's Bounty 2 and how it differs, it appears to have a darker, more gritty aesthetic compared to its predecessors. What was the design philosophy around that? Why did you decide to go with that instead?
That's an interesting question. We've been debating on a design approach.
Nie wiem, czemu właśnie Windows wydał z siebie tyle dźwięków, ale okej.
Working on the core gameplay and the looks and the art of the game. Previous game had this more cartoonish, kind of fancy indie look, but we decided we are now trying to play in different league. We're trying to make a much bigger title, a big game, an epic adventure. We've been astonished by modern fantasy titles both in Hollywood and in games, and we thought that this is a good idea actually to upgrade King's Bounty to what we call like high fantasy or like realistic fantasy. So it's not a dark fantasy like Kingdom Come when they're like dirty.
I o taki game dev walczył.
No, it's more like
Co się dzieje z tą jebaną branżą? Za jaki grzech?
Za jaki grzech?
Characters. If there's a dragon, it looks like a dragon, not like a toy. If there's a villain, he or she looks like a real bad person. So that was the main philosophy. Plus, game development evolves, and I don't think that it's a good idea to take a game of 2008 and just make a replica with slightly enhanced graphics in 2021. So you need, especially for consoles, there's a specific expectation from somebody coming to the store or buying the game digitally or online. Okay, this is like a 49.59 game. It has to look graphically and gameplay-wise like this. There's an expectation, and we believe that that's what we had to do.
Yeah, so we've mentioned that this game combines different kind of like ways that you can play the game, basically,
Jeszcze jedna rzecz. Gdyby to było jako postshow właściwej konferencji, to by było świetne. Bo jak kogoś zainspirowała... Jeżeli ktoś by się interesował którąś z gier, to by było świetne. Ale to jest główna konferencja. Ciekaw, czy ludzie w ogóle odpływają.
Ja bym zobaczył
ludzie odpływają kolejne
reakcje innych ludzi.
Możemy później włączyć Mad Queen, bo Mad Queen też na pewno wiem, że restreamuje.
Jestem, czy mój laser zrobi restream.
Będziemy mogli to popatrzeć.
So if you remove tactical combat from King's Bounty, then it becomes, I don't know, Mass Effect or Kingdom Come. So this so we can play around with evolution of this gameplay, make it more fun.
Jak są te większe konferencje, ale tak jest jakiś syf, tylko to leci szybko, jeden po drugim,
a nie gadają o tym przez 15 minut.
Nie robi się tak.
Not the other way around. So
a się wkurwia, jeżeli te gry, o których ty mówiłeś, jeżeli one dostaną tylko trailer i nic więcej.
To też się wkurwi.
King's Bounty is probably not for them.
Kurwa, to jest pogadanka o grach. Wspominany jest Mass Effect, Cyberpunk, Kingdom Come. Wiedźmina nie było.
And then these
nie, powiedział o Cyberpunku.
And making this world feel more alive and more exciting. What was actually the hardest part of you making the game? What took the longest time? What kind of caused you the most headaches?
Hard to say. First of all, this is a multiple platform game, so there are specific technical issues that prolong the development. If you make just, let's say, a PC title or just a PlayStation game, then you are not having a headache of porting to different platforms, getting different specifications, TCRs, approvals. So that adds a lot. And then secondly, the production itself, as soon as we went away from this kind of cartoonish, easy looking, isometric view into a 3D high fantasy and the production of assets. So
jedna rzecz mi się jeszcze przypomniała. Trwa właśnie mecz inauguracji Euro 2020 w 2021 roku. To było tak bardzo ciekawsze do oglądania.
Nawet ja bym wolał obejrzeć mecz, a nienawidzę piłki nożnej i sportu. Nawet ja bym wolał obejrzeć już kurwa jebany mecz.
No, bo ten mecz teraz można w ogóle, nie wiem, słyszałeś, ale TVP się szarpnęło na TVP 4K zrobili osobny kanał, na razie tylko i wyłącznie na euro. Będzie tam nadawane w 4K. I jest dostępne w tej telewizji naziemnej, nie? Także w końcu na coś sensownego poszło te 2 miliardy, a nie tylko na propagandę.
I na efekty.
I na efekty znikania.
Widziałeś?
Tak. Co widziałem?
Helikopter widziałeś?
Nie, chyba nie.
No, absolutely. And then the final question. What are the
Wow,
benefits of
ostatnie
signing
pytanie,
up with a global
świetne po
publisher
10
like
minutach.
Koch and being
Boże,
on their brand
jestem
new
naprawdę
gaming
głodny,
label?
kurwa, i mnie boli ta jebana ręka. No jak już tyle przetrwałem, to już chcę usłyszeć o tym, co fajne.
I'm not sure that all gamers understand how games get to the market. So making a game, writing pieces of code or drawing this amazing sketch of a dragon is only half of the puzzle. So it's like yin yang. You need a lot of support from production people, testing, localization, manufacturing retail units, putting all this, units into the retail shops in the world.
Jakby ktoś się zastanawiał, jaki jest wynik meczu, jest 0-0, co ciekawe, Turcja, Włochy, także Turcy się trzymają.
Cooperate with Koch Media, that seemed to be the ideal partner. So we are on the market for many years, and I would say very honestly, I was personally a bit scared if we do it just ourselves, that we might not have the human resources to deliver the information about the game itself. We'll work with all the platform holders as effectively as in a co-production and co-publishing with such esteemed partners, Koch Media and Bracer Group. So I'm quite happy.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, that's it. Thank you so much for your time, Nikolai, and I cannot wait for people
Bo
to
to
get
nie
on
jest
board
jedna
with
z tych
that
fajnych
meeting.
gier.
Oh, me too. Trust me too.
Yeah.
2 years of development. That's going to be one of the most exciting days for me in 2021.
Jeszcze właśnie kurwy najlepszy na koniec zostawił.
12 titles. We keep saying it. And honestly, I shouldn't have a favorite. It's like picking between a favorite child. However, this next title speaks to me on a gaming level unlike any other. This third-person action-adventure shooter will keep you up at night tossing and turning with its horrific, nightmarish creatures.
Nie wiem czemu, ale to mi przypomniało o tym, że jest Control za darmo na Epic Games Store.
Whereas one US journalist put it,
Faktycznie
Takie
jest.
info,
standing.
jakby ktoś nie słyszał.
Guys,
O, aż się stream zaciął, jej. Może niech umrze w pizdu. No, nie umrę w pizdu. Fuck.
grab a pillow, because you get a world-exclusive look at Scars Above.
Good job. Dr. Ward, Dr. Yoshida, get to the bridge, please. Time to see what's inside our alien guest.
Tak wstępnie trochę drewnianie, ale mogłoby się nadać.
To jest, ja znam tą animację chodzenia, tylko nie wiem z czego.
Telemetry check.
A, z pierwszego Wiedźmina.
Telemetry check.
Naprawdę.
Here go.
Jest ten sam rytm. Wolniej.
How is this possible? What planet is this? How did I end up here? Log entry. The gate has an internal conduction system. The 3 points on the rim seem sensitive. A targeted blast of electricity should cause a reaction.
To może być taki kurwa gotik, w sensie, tak wiecie, pod względem jakości. Że to może być fajne, tylko trochę ciężkie do strawienia.
The atmosphere. Mira! It's still intact.
Że tutoriala nie wyłączyli na pokazówkę? What?
Log entry. The creature has multiple salivary glands in its thoracic region that seem to produce a highly venomous secretion. Wow. The whole place is covered with some kind of organic residue. Looks like Robinson managed to connect the MPU to the pillar.
Muszę powiedzieć, jako że się stream zaciął, że ta gra wygląda bardzo fajnie. I bardzo mi się podoba.
Ale jak już jesteś pierwsza gra, to wygląda tak samo jak Returnal czy inne Control. Nie jest moim lubianym stylem.
Who were the architects of this place? Did they build these towering monuments to serve a purpose, or as a testament to their might? Were they looking for answers, or solving a problem? Oh my god!
Ale wygląda bardziej drewnianie niż drewno samo w sobie.
No właśnie, to jest największy minus, że to nawet spoko, tylko takie drewno. Mówię, to może być taki gothic, jeżeli to będzie jakaś sensowna fabuła i tak dalej, ale gameplayowo to na pewno nie będzie najlepsza gra 2021 albo 2022. Ale to jest przynajmniej normalna prezentacja gry, masz gameplay. Może być nawet bardzo długa, ale jest gameplay.
I gra jest o czymś.
I gra wygląda nawet spoko.
Tak.
To, że jest, no niestety wygląda technicznie jak wygląda, bo pewnie jest robione przez małe studio, gdzie po prostu nie ma kasy, ani czasu, ani ludzi na to, żeby zrobić nie wiadomo jak płynne animacje i tak dalej, ale no kurde, jakoś to wygląda sensownie. Co prawda już widać trochę powtarzalność gameplayu. Nawet na jebanej pokazówce.
The appendages are dripping with the fluid that's freezing the water. There's the brain and the neural pathways leading to various organs. The pseudocerebrum seems to be generating an electrical charge.
Normalnie, kurde, tryb detektywa jak w Detroit Become Human.
This neural pathway is conducting large amounts of bioelectricity. This gland is secreting the cryogenic fluid that's freezing the water. Cocktail of digestive acids is dissolving local plant life into homogeneous matter. The process seems to be aided by bioelectricity.
Dosłownie, kurwa, to wyglądało identycznie jak Detroit Become Human.
That
No
really was
fajne.
something. And last week, Opal had a chance to talk to the developers, Mad Head Games.
I jeszcze będzie rozmowa z deweloperem, co?
From Novi Sad in Serbia is
Kurwa, to jutro
Ivan
będzie.
Zorkic, game director at Mad Head Games, who's going to tell us all about his new project. So Ivan, what's Scars Above all about?
Hey there. Scars Above, an alien object appears near Earth, and a team of
Czyżby to
astronauts
było
is
nasz problem?
sent to explore it to do a close range
jest nasz
scan.
problem.
However,
Oh fuck.
Zaczyna się internecik mobilny.
for some reason that I don't want to
Okej,
go into now,
powinniśmy być
this
z powrotem.
results in them
Zaczyna się
like
internet
an
mobilny
event which
i dropi te
causes them to
klatki.
be transported to an unknown alien planet. So our protagonist, Kate Ward, who is a mission specialist, she's an astrobiologist with a background in engineering. She's one of the members of the team of astronauts.
Generalnie dużo nie tracicie, jeżeli to wam zrywa, teraz powinno działać. Czy nadal dropi klatki, ale powinniście przynajmniej słyszeć.
Doing the scan, and she ends up on this stranded on this alien planet. So one moment she's with her team in the ship, and the other moment she's on this strange planet alone. So she explores. She finds out that her team is also stranded on the planet. She has to find them first. And it seems that some time has passed. She doesn't understand why. And also the planet is very hostile. So there's a bunch of dangerous creatures, monsters, and everything seems to want to kill her and the rest of her crew. So she needs to, find out what's going on, solve this mystery.
Jaki mam wniosek?
How did they end up here?
Gra
What does this
była
planet
dobra.
want from them?
Powiem
And the
rozgrywki
story
całej
unravels
gry
as she
muszą być
actually
ciekawe
learns about the
dialogi
place
między
and learns
postaciami.
about the
To
mystery
jest mój
behind
jeden
it.
wniosek.
But it's all about, like being stranded on this kind of scary, but also in a way strangely beautiful world, and facing a lot of nasty creatures and monsters.
Yeah. So it's like kind of keeping on that theme of the realm of possibility and whatnot. How much in the game has its roots in the real world, and how much is just plain crazy sci-fi?
Well, it's mostly sci-fi, but the themes come from the real world. So they're inspired by the real world. I think the best stories come from the real world, even if they're, about, as I said, dragons or fairy tales, and of course, spaceships and space exploration. Like, there's always this component. So on one level, Scars Above is about reason versus terror. And this is a very important topic to me, and that's a very real world topic for me. Like, in our world, a lot of bad things come out of fear. And this fear, gives birth to some unreasonably dark actions, which lead to more bad things and more fear and more bad things. And in a way, Scars Above is like, for me, a metaphor for reason standing up against terror. Science against darkness, knowledge against ignorance.
So apart from kind of staying within sci-fi and obviously that kind of opening up the possibility that this can actually happen makes sci-fi what it is there any other important reason to you to keep, that sense of realism still there in the game?
So there is, like, yes, there is a reason to keep realism, but I think the better word is to make it believable. So, like, if you go for absolute realism, you're kind of limited on, what you can tell, the story you can tell. It kind of is like there is fiction element to the sci-fi, right? But we want to make it believable. And the reason why this is important is because I would like to create this what if vibe. I would like it if people actually ask themselves, like, what if this really happened? What would I do if I were suddenly stranded somewhere on this strange, far away from home world, surrounded with monsters and terrors? Like, if you make this believable, people might actually think more about it.
Wrażenie, że dużo ludzi takie właśnie wywiady są nagrane przed i po prostu puszczone jako film, ale zresztą rozumiem, dlaczego każdy
so that
tak
people
robi.
get immersed in this
Szczęście
world
mi
and start thinking like, what would I do if I was in this
to jest
situation?
straszne, naprawdę.
What if this was really like? What if this happens someday? What if an alien object does appear near Earth someday, and what would happen?
Absolutely. And then you mentioned the lead protagonist, Kate Ward. You told about her job title. What else about her? You know, like, who is she? Why is she?
Kate is awesome. We love her. So Kate is a very strong and very capable, but also a very caring person. You know, so she's an astronaut. She's a scientist, a team member, a colleague, an explorer, and you know, she always has like this childlike scientific curiosity. You know, but one thing she is not, and that's a warrior, like a trained warrior. She's not a soldier, so she's not like a.
Gościu ma słuchawki od siał, tego właśnie zauważyłem.
And she
jest
does
najciekawszy
end
moment
up in a situation where like she needs to
tej
fight for her
prezentacji.
life. So that's a theme that's kind of like really interesting to us.
I co ja sobie w międzyczasie zobaczę, co tam w YGM się
She's
dzieje.
not a trained combatant doesn't mean she's not capable, you know. So she has like a strong will, a sharp mind, and she's very brave and tough. But you know, like she's under tremendous stress in our game, and we want to show how vulnerable she is, how scared she is, how distressed. You know, because true courage it doesn't come out of lack of fear. It comes in face of fear. So we do want to show this fear, and it's actually like this, the fact that she's overcoming this, like fighting her emotions, fighting all the stress, that makes her courageous, and that's great. So she gets frightened. You know, she fights her emotions. She's susceptible to panic. Which I think kind of makes her relatable. Like she's not like I'm all out of gum. I'm kicking ass and chewing bubble gum, and I'm all out of gum. You know, like that's not her. She is like her heart pounds, her voice breaks, she trembles. You know, but then that's what I really like when her voice breaks, when she's like really.
Generalnie sobie odpaliłem na szybko ten stream IGN-u i tam pokazali jakiegoś Sherlocka Holmesa. Nie wiem, chapter 1, coś może epizodycznego i może coś ciekawszego, bo to taka może być przygodówka. Zobaczymy to sobie później.
And gadgets and survive against the odds.
Awesome. So you mentioned that, you know, Kate's a team player and that Scar gets sent up. Who else is in the team? Who else are we going to be meeting on this adventure?
So she's a part of a 4-person team. There is the commander of the mission, Commander Robinson, Richard Robinson, and he is like a person with a military background, like a pilot and an officer, and like he is the commander after all. But the rest of the team are mission specialists, you know, because this is also kind of like the idea that it's this alien object appears, we send scientists and explorers trying to figure what's going on. So Kate is joined by her close friend Tamara, who is and also like a scientist and an astronaut, and by Mike.
Czemu na przykład drugie studio może robić gry o tematyczne sobie bohaterów?
Communications expert,
Czemu?
Albo they're all scientists working together to solve this mystery. Kate does get separated from them, and you know, part of the game is actually uncovering the fate of her other team members, and you know, like I don't want to spoil anything, but you know, Kate obviously cares a lot about her teammates and her friends.
Speaking of best feelings that you can have, what are you most proud of up to date of Scars Above?
I'm actually gonna give you a corny but very true answer. I'm most proud of the team. So like making a game is a huge effort, and it requires a lot of hard work, focus, energy, dedication, but also like cooperation, communication, support. So it's just like looking at a group of people working together on a common goal, that's really inspiring. And I think that's truly the case with any development team. Like when you ask them like what you're most proud of, you know, and I keep thinking like one day in the far future, I may actually forget some of the details during the development, but I will always remember the people I worked with.
That's awesome. And then last question, what are the benefits of signing up with a global publisher like Koch and being on their brand new publishing label?
There's a bunch of benefits, but like, you know, having access to certain resources, to experience.
Mam dla was bardzo złą informację, to jest 7. gra.
with many firsts for us.
Pierdolę, nie jadę. Jak teraz nie
having someone
będzie
to
tego,
just
co ja chcę, wychodzę i
share
nie wracam.
thoughts and share the
Dupie to
experience is really valuable.
Nie
But
robimy.
you know, on a personal level, I have to say this, and I'm being perfectly honest. Like the biggest benefit for me was meeting a bunch of great people on your side, and I truly mean this. Like it's a continuing pleasure to work with you.
Nie wiem, stary, będę musiał to kurwa odreagować jakoś, albo nie wiem co zrobię. Może się wstrzemnę, będzie power up w nocy, ale pierdolę, za chwilę dostanę, tak się kurwa okropnie czuję przez to.
We chat about various things. Just meeting you guys, like it's a tremendous boost to what we're doing. And you know, I don't want to downplay like the obvious benefits, because there's a lot of them, like their infrastructure, the resources, but you know, for me personally, it's just like meeting and
Prezentację, nie? Szybko na temat.
That's really awesome.
And it's a pleasure to hang out with you as well, Ivan. And thank you so much for your time. I cannot wait to let people play Scars Above, because I know that we have so much fun with it in the office. So thank you very much. And yeah, we can't wait to see more.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm looking forward to
sobie.
playing
To jest, bo nie wiem.
really
Encased.
excited about it.
Czekaj.
And thank you for this talk. Yeah.
And now for something completely different. When Brian Fargo himself, the granddaddy of top-down isometric RPGs, says he is excited about a game, that's gotta mean Prime Matter is getting something right. Encased is an isometric dystopian sci-fi RPG scheduled for release this autumn. And this new trailer, which we're unveiling today, should give you a pretty good flavor of what the game is all about.
It's 1976, and the future has arrived. But here's the skinny. We at Cronus need you. Cronus was formed after a dome-like structure was discovered 5 years
No więc zostałem sam. No ja to obejrzę do końca. Generalnie. Poprawimy trochę kamerkę. Żeby jakiegoś syfu nie widać, nie za mocno. Dobrze. Ojeju, masakra.
Itself and join one of our incredible research teams. The only question is, which wing of Cronus is the best fit for you? If you like taking orders, cracking heads, ultra-violence, and guns, lots of guns, then the Black Wing is for you. Can you build and repair incredible technology, but not expect any credit for it? You sound like an engineer to us. Welcome to the Blue Wing. Are you a doctor, scientist, mathematician, or any other type of brainiac? We've got you covered in the White Wing. Do you like taking credit for the hard work of others, but never do anything yourself? Those forms won't fill themselves. That's management, mister. And the Silver Wing awaits. Are you a criminal, prisoner, or have no discernible skills whatsoever? Then you're coming to the Orange Wing, like it or not. Are you ready for adventure? Are you ready to make the change with us? Are you ready to love it so much that you'll never want to leave? Then join Cronus and take the second giant leap for mankind under the dome.
And that's not all. Opal got to sit down with the creative brain.
Jezus Maria.
Check it out.
Masakra.
Let's go to St. Petersburg in Russia and speak to Vyacheslav Kosahin, creative director of Dark Crystal Games and the brains behind their upcoming isometric RPG Encased. So, Slava, what is Encased?
So Encased is an old-school RPG in the sci-fi post-apocalyptic setting, basically.
Awesome. So the name Encased is kind of, you know, it's a word and it has various meanings. What's the thinking behind the name?
The thinking behind the name comes from the setting of the game, from one main entity of it, which is the dome. The game takes place in the anomalous zone called the Dome, which was found somewhere in the last unknown desert on the Earth and on our planet. And well, basically people who get in there, various scientists, technicians, soldiers and adventurers, they can't get back. This is sort of a one-way road, so those guys who explore the dome, they are encased in there, which I think makes some sense in this regard.
Absolutely. Yes. So I know that you guys have been developing this game for kind of a long time now. How long has it actually taken to get to the point where you are now?
So we are developing the game for 3.5 years now. We started late in 2017 with some pre-production, but obviously we have thoughts about a project like this for years and years before that, before those crystallized in something, something that really exists. So it takes 10 years of thinking behind this game, this project, and 3.5 years of actual production time to this point.
So considering how long it takes, how do you guys keep yourself so motivated just on one particular title?
Well, we can't say we have any problems with motivation on our own, because for most, if not everyone on the team, this is the dream project that comes to life. So that's fine in this regard. The motivation is always high, but also we are in the early access, and we're really open with the community from the very early stages of the project.
Proszę, znowu gadamy o grze, która już wyszła. Jest w early accessie, na wydarzeniu, gdzie miały być nowe rzeczy. Gdzie miały być trailery, gameplay, a nie pierdolenie o tych grach.
Positive and sometimes negative, which obviously keeps us motivated. If we would be on our own for those 3.5 years and some extra time we'll spend on developing this game, maybe the motivation could decline a little bit, but with those constant talks with the community, shared feedback, we're all good.
Awesome. And then kind of bringing it back to the game, given how development and technology often is basically dictates how the game evolves throughout its development, how close to the original concept that you came up with years and years ago are you now with the game that you have currently?
The overall...
Ta laska bardzo śmiesznie wypowiada słowo game. Jakby tak zjada game. Jakby tak dziwnie to strasznie mówi.
It's a very old school CRPG type game, which is inspired by many golden classics of late 90s and early 2000s, and in that regard, it all those ideas survived through the process, which is really great. Most of the mechanics, abilities, perks, and all those little things which these RPGs are built from, we managed to put it in there too. But obviously, because technology changed and even time passes, some less important things, I'd say, like maybe graphics or maybe art style beats or maybe some topics and themes, we explore those, transformed and changed during the process, because making games and RPGs particularly, it's an iterative process and takes many iterations to figure out what is the heart, what is the idea you want to bring to the players. So those transformed and crystallized during this long development. But the original concept, the very heart of it's all in there, which is really great.
Yeah, so speaking about the concept, what's the actual narrative of Encased?
The story of Encased is a story about exploring this anomalous zone, the Dome. The player starts as an employee of this Cronus organization, which is the only organization that controls entire Dome research and studying. There are 5 departments which are called wings. A player can start in, which affects the game a lot and the story of the game. This is the Black Wing, which are the security and police services. There are White Wing, which are scientists and medics. There is the Silver Wing, which are the management and ruling wing of the dome of the Cronus. there are blue wing, which are technicians and engineers, and there is this special orange wing, which is contains ex-convicts, which were freed to go to the dome to do various manual labor.
So you've mentioned that the game is set in the early 70s. Not many games have been set in that time period. What prompted you to pick that specific time period?
Well, we think that the 70s is the perfect time for like our game, what we are doing, because 70s is like the last tick on the timeline of the humanity, while there were some blind spots on the planet. First satellites and first people in space, it's all happened in late 50s and early 60s, right? And 70s is the last spot on the timeline when there is some, when satellites do not have this complete web surrounding the Earth and the planet, and there are some blind spots where such an amazing and dangerous place like Dome can be hidden. And from that place, from that time, the story takes its alternative path. Instead of going further to the space, humanity sort of descends into the dome to study it and to do those scientific researches and do those miraculous discoveries, basically.
Yeah, so you mentioned that this is kind of like almost a parallel universe. How far did you deviate from what actually happened in the 70s compared to what happens in the game? I guess it's seeing, as you said, that it devolves, it's quite a bit.
Yeah, obviously. So the main topic would be obviously that instead of continuing the Cold War, the West and the East, if we can call those, they instead start to explore the ideas of like internationalism and exploring the dome together and forming that super corporation Cronus, which is actually the only foundation that explores the dome, controls all the researches and controls.
Co się z tym dźwiękiem stało przez chwilę? What the fuck?
And scientific researches, which comes from the dome into the rest of the world. And yeah, those ideas are quite different from what happened in the real world, I guess.
And kind of bringing it back to the real world almost. Obviously, you guys are based in Russia, and life in the 70s was very different than life was in the West. How much of that do you think translates to an international audience once we get out there? And how much do you think people won't understand because they just, no one kind of really lived over there, or no one really knew what was happening over there?
Well, as I said, I think the game pursues the ideas of internationalism when very different parties across the world could put their own struggles, political and other struggles aside, to humanity become something bigger when it's combined with everyone is united together. To ascend to be something more and to explore the dome, its dangers and its discoveries, basically.
Absolutely. Now bringing it kind of back to you guys and the developers again. You mentioned that you were inspired by other games. What games really truly inspired it? Not just games, but media. And also, what do you and the team like as well when it comes to video games?
Well, we are here all the hardcore RPG fans, so it's not secret why we, I suppose, picked up a project like this to develop. And it's not a secret that the game is it's in a very hard way was inspired by the Fallout series, and the other great RPG games of late 90s and early 2000s, and some modern ones too, actually.
So speaking about development,
Jezus Maria, nie rozumiem, kurwa, kto wpadł na pomysł, że to będzie fajna konferencja. Nie rozumiem, zostało 4000 widzów, nie wiem ile było na początku, ale to jest takie gówno, że to jest po prostu niemożliwe.
It's an everyday struggle in a way. It's a marathon, but it's a happy marathon, and it's a happy everyday struggle basically for us.
Absolutely. And then moving it into that more positive thing, the happy marathon. What are you most proud of when it comes to Incast?
I'm obviously proud of both the team and the project itself, because both us here in the team and our community, we often forget that 3.5 years ago there was nothing, there was emptiness, nothing existed. And here now, 3.5 years later, both with the team effort and the feedback which we get from the community, there is this great universe, a curious world which is almost ready to be explored and to be adventured inside, basically.
And then moving on to the last question, what are the benefits of signing up with a global publisher like Koch Media and being on their new label?
So we think that signing with a partner as Koch Media is really great, because it not only benefits us as developers, but such partnership also benefits our community, our players. We as developers, we get more time to work on the project and polish it so it would be in the perfect state, while our players will enjoy more localizations which will make the game more accessible to the wider audience. We'll get the voiceover done, which just make the game better. And
zwróciłem uwagi, bo przed chwilą było Coming Up Next, bo patrzyłem się na drugim monitorze.
From an isometric dystopian sci-fi RPG to our next title, which is a fresh take on the action-adventure genre. This team, all the way from Iceland, specifically built a mocap studio for this title and has the incredible talent Aldous Hamilton as their lead protagonist. I got to sit down with the guys and ask them, what is this game all about?
So Echoes of the End is
to jest niby ta fajna gra, tylko zapewne nic z niej nie będzie pokazane.
A person who has trained all her life to be a warrior in service to a throne and is now searching and finding her own identity as she's cast away from the life she's always known. It's a game we wanted to make all our lives, basically. And for us, what we really wanted to explore was a marriage of a cinematic experience and the narrative, choice-driven storytelling of RPGs.
No i to może być fajne, tylko jeżeli tutaj nic o tej grze nie pokażą, no to...
is what really inspired us to go and make our own video game.
Exactly, and such a big integral part of the experience is how you as a player choose to interact with the characters around you, the different companions, the characters that you'll run into when you're going about in the game and trying to solve all the issues that the player you'll be facing as a player.
What was the inspiration behind it?
We're at a remarkable point in the game industry where, a relatively small team is able to tackle such an ambitious vision, and it's actually reasonable. And I think we've just recently arrived at that point. There have been some really great games making leaps in the past few years, kind of paving the way for this as the tools and hardware and software get more accessible and affordable for smaller developers. We kind of, in the early days of Midgard, we came to realize that a game like this might be possible. And it seemed unreal to us that it might be at the time. But growing the team and building up the tech and pipelines in-house, we saw that this was in fact possible. And it's an absolute dream for everyone at the company to, be privileged enough to work on a game like this and to really shape the game that we all want to make.
Yeah, so kind of sticking on that point of development and how technology often drives the direction of how a game evolves throughout its development. How close to the original concept is the game now?
That's a really good question. So it's rather close. I would say we didn't really do any large pivots. We did make some changes, of course, as the vision evolved and as we understood better kind of what the game was going to be and kind of
Ja na chwilę odejdę, no bo dobra, chwilę, no posłucham jeszcze o tej grze najwyżej, bo to się wydaje być fajne, tylko szkoda, że nic nie pokazują, no bo fajnie story driven, adventure i tak dalej, ale właśnie się zrobiło to, co chciałem zrobić, czyli wymienić baterię w aparacie, bo się rozładowała, także idę to zrobić jednak, bo się już rozładowała kompletnie.
You know, digital doubles for characters, scanned environments, you know, next gen development engines, next gen game engines, kind of all those things were in place for us to make the game. I think the primary things that have changed in the making of the game are more in the details of the execution of that, how we structure the story, what kind of game mechanics we want in a game like that, and really what the identity of our game is and how we separate that from other games.
We genuinely have been making this game. This game, even though it is slightly different, my work as narrative director has not had to change a lot.
Exactly, yeah.
We've mentioned, obviously, at the start and throughout what we've spoke about so far that you guys are based in Iceland and everyone knows the, like, picturesque scenery of Iceland. Did you get much inspiration from your homeland in the environment?
Yes, absolutely. You know, Iceland is such a phenomenal place to live in, and it's a beautiful country that's been featured in, you know, many films and video games before us. And the funny thing is that us growing up in Iceland, this is normalcy for us. This is what we've been used to. It isn't until we visit other countries that we realize that the rest of the world isn't a fantasy land.
Oh my god, trees!
Yes. But yeah, I mean, it's absolutely inspired by Iceland. And, you know, I was working as a tour guide for the longest time, and a lot of us like grew up in the country from different locations. And we pulled from those locations in the game, and even for some of them, we have nearly one-to-one replicas of them, you know, in the game.
Mm-hmm.
But the game itself isn't based in Iceland, of course. We're just taking inspiration from the more fantasy level vistas and visuals.
Because while all this is true, while we love Iceland and while we'd be fools not to utilize the access we have to Icelandic natural phenomenons to scan and take references from, we don't want to make a game about Vikings. Because it's something that's been done a lot, and we really want to make a unique IP that is ours, and that no one has seen before.
Yeah, and we kind of touched on characters, and you mentioned the main character at the very start. Tell us about her.
Zrobiłem ranta o tym, że no chcielibyśmy zobaczyć to na evencie, na którym miały być pokazywane gry.
It's always a tricky question to answer without getting into any sort of spoilers. But Ren is, as I say, she is a character, a person trained from birth to be a weapon in service to the crown. I was really fascinating in exploring the difference between a person that is, the juxtaposition between purpose and independence. And Rin is a character burdened by purpose and chained to it. She has been given a purpose not of her own choosing, not by her own volition, but one that she has inherent to her birth and very existence. Throughout this game in particular, we want to explore the journey of going beyond that purpose and going beyond what role you are born into and seizing the world by the throat, basically. And I would say that she's born with certain powers that make her both a pariah and a uniquely powerful individual. But with that power come certain challenges and certain superstitions that she's challenged to overcome. I think that's general enough to avoid spoilers.
Yeah,
Would you like to add to that?
And you know, just to add a layer to that, I think with the main character, she's, you know, throughout the game, you're constantly meeting new people. Kind of, we're setting her in, you know, we start with her familiar setting, her kind of role in society, and her kind of what's expected of her, and we kind of break free from that throughout the game as we meet different characters, and Rin kind of finds her own path and purpose, like Magnus spoke on. And I think that's really where the player also steps in and kind of forms those new relationships that Rin forms throughout the game, and really is
Słuchajcie, zrobimy tak. To do końca, jeżeli do następnej gry nie będzie trailera, wyłączam to. Nie chce mi się, to jest taka strata czasu, nie ma to sensu.
Game is the performance by the excellent actress behind her, who is Aldís Amma Hamilton, who is absolutely phenomenal at portraying such an awesome character.
What's the hardest part of game development so far? I know you guys are still in the development, but what's been the most challenging?
The most challenging part of game development?
I think that's a different answer for every team.
Yes, I think that's a different answer for every game, and I think it even might be a different answer for every team member, depending on the different perspective that they have into the game development. I think for us, it's been vitally important to find the right people to work on the game. And that's a really difficult thing to do, finding the right people who you believe in and who are really passionate about making games like this. And we've been lucky enough to find the right people so far, and we have, exceptionally talented people on board with us making this game. And I think while that is, often from the outset, it's an invisible part of game development, but it's absolutely essential and extremely difficult.
Yeah, so you kind of mentioned before that, Iceland's quite small. Does that mean that you guys kind of struggle to find that talent that's out there, or is it quite rich in terms of game development?
So, as usual, Iceland is excellent per capita. We're the best at everything per capita. And among those in the Nordics, we have the most developers per capita. That's not really a useful metric when you look at the fact that we're only like 300,000 people, basically a small fisher town someplace. But, Iceland is completely unique in the way that CCP, another pretty well-known developer here in Iceland, kind of paved the way for all the other game developers here that are now thriving. We have a great educational infrastructure that, pretty much covers all the different fields of game development here in Iceland. So we have exceptional talent coming out. And so I think, considering the size, we have great access to talent. And another part of it is that we've had a lot of Icelanders who got into game development early, and moved to other countries and then moved back with a lot of experience helping new teams form and build games here. So while it's definitely a challenge to find people in a smaller nation, we're blessed by the fact that we do have exceptional talent here, and we have an educational system that is actively each year graduating new students who know game development.
What Halldór is saying is that we're a nation of nerds.
Yes. And like another per capita is that, I don't know, it's an incredibly high number of people in Iceland who play games at all ages.
Yep.
Like an insanely high number.
Yeah, that's really crazy. And, we've kind of mentioned what's the most difficult part about game development, but what are you most proud of up until this point?
That's, it's not, it's a difficult question to answer because there's so many things. I mean, making games is, it takes so many people to do so many things for it to go correctly. And I think what we're most proud of is that so far we seem to be doing it correctly with the great people. So I think what we're most proud of is the team and the progress that we made with this team.
Yeah, I think that's a very good answer in general, that just the talent we've collected around us and the friendships that have formed so strongly within this company.
Yeah.
I think that's invaluable and is what's going to drive it forward.
And then, finally, guys, what are the benefits of signing up with a global
wow,
Koch Media and being part of their brand new label?
That's a great question. So obviously we touched on the part that we're kind of stuck in Iceland, so our outreach is quite limited on an island in the sea. No, but all jokes aside, the main benefit is that it's an extension of the team, and it's a great extension of the team.
Yeah.
We talk about the things that have been the most difficult, and that's building the team, and the things that we're most proud of, which is again the team that we built. And for us, Koch is a fantastic extension to the team.
Świetnie. Takiej wymowy to już w ogóle tutaj nie słyszeliśmy.
About games, and they're empowering us to deliver these games, worldwide. And I think that is anything a developer, an ambitious developer could ask for in a publisher.
And we are absolutely...
Dobra, generalnie to są te dwie gry, o których mój brat mówił. I zobaczymy, jeżeli teraz nie będzie trailera, to...
If you like the game Gothic and hardcore RPGs, The Last Recruit is just for you. I got to sit down with two of the guys from Gold Knights and talk all about them and their new game. Hello there, guys. Today I am
Dobra, koniec.
creative and game director Paweł.
Koniec, po prostu koniec, bo to jest po prostu niemożliwe. Nie wiem, kto wpadł na ten event, powinien zostać zwolniony w pizdu, jakby to było 1,5 godziny, nawet więcej straconego życia. Kończymy na dzisiaj. Mam nadzieję, że wam się też nie podobało. Jeżeli ktoś to oglądał jako zapis, mam nadzieję, że sobie skipowaliście to wszystko. Być może te gry są warte, w sumie nie wiadomo. Jutro o 21:00 Ubisoft, także jutro się zaczną te poważne rzeczy, poważne E3 i mam nadzieję, że będzie fajnie. Później też o 23:00 Gearbox, tam głównie ten Wonderlands. To głównie mój brat chce obejrzeć, także no zobaczymy. W każdym razie na dzisiaj koniec. Ja już nawet nie zostałem streamem żadną muzyką, bo po prostu mi się nie chce. Dzięki za oglądanie, idę grać w Cyberpunka. Trzymajcie się i cześć.